bones. As promised, let's go ahead and do our top 20 McFarlane DC Multiverse figures of 2022. Now, I do have kind of like different little rules and stuff that I put on myself when I do this. I kind of like bring out all the figures and then I just start removing them and thinking about which ones I had the most fun posing, which ones I really liked to look at, which ones I liked all the details, maybe even like the ones that came with the best accessories. But it all culminated down to 20 figures. Now, of course, this is my list. Everybody's is going to be different. But for me, all of these figures were like must-haves from McFarlane this year. So once I started getting down to the nitty-gritty, it was hard to decide which ones to keep and which ones to get rid of. But I did finally narrow it down. Now, my honorable mentions are actually a lot of the ones that are in here, because at first I was going to do a top 10, but there was just so many good figures from McFarlane this year that I had to make it a top 20. Now, in the thumbnail, even all of those figures could have made it onto here, even though they didn't, but you could consider those like my honorable mentions for right now, because none of them that were in the thumbnail actually made it in the top 20. Now, we did have a pretty awesome year. We, had a lot of cool releases, a lot of cool things to look forward to in 2023. Now, this year we did slap around a lot of worms and a lot of Marvel fanboys, but I'd like to kind of tone that down this year. Let's just be really appreciative that we get a chance to collect these figures and be appreciative of all the releases that we get to choose from to add to our collections. But let's go ahead and dive right into it. Coming in at number 20, we will have the only live action figure that made it on the top 20. Now, this is not because there wasn't awesome live action figures, because actually the ones from the Black Adam movie were pretty awesome. Shout out to Hawkman, Dr. Fate, the Atom Smasher figure, especially the 12-inch Mega Fig was awesome. That one was actually right, almost made it onto the top 20. And even though I have yet to look at them, I know I'm really going to like Sabak. Really interested of opening that one up and taking a closer look at them. I'll do a review here in the next week. And when it comes down to it, I actually really loved this Black Adam on the Throne from the movie. This was actually my favorite out of the figures. I did runner up to this one was actually the one with the cloak. That one I do really like as well. But when I had to pick which one, I did go with the Throne, more because of the value you got with the Throne, which is also actually a pretty nice looking throne. Had some cool design and patina paint details on there, even though it is hollow. But I mean, what more do you want from McFarlane? This is an awesome accessory. And this is actually the version that I touched up, because I whited out the eyes, put a little bit of darker wash around the eyes and the face to give it a little bit more depth. And then I did add some shinier gold to the gauntlets and to the boots, to the belt, just to give it more pop. And then, of course, the whited out eyes to give them that creepy look that I kind of liked out of this version of the Black Adam figure. Now he looks awesome sitting on the throne. If you do not have a Black Adam figure, this is the one I suggest you get. If not, the one with the cloak is a close runner-up, but this one is a must-have in your collection. Now, the movie did okay, but it wasn't, the big smash that they wanted. But that will be a conversation for my Sabak review. But yeah, coming in at number 20, Black Adam on the Throne. Now, coming in at number 19, we do have the classic version of Martian Manhunter. Now, we did get the standard release, which was just like a more rebirth version of the Martian Manhunter. Now, this is the gold label Target exclusive, and it is a more classic version. Now, Another thing about these figures that I picked was that a lot of them only really become like my favorite figures when I actually do work on them. It's just like the little details that I add for myself, which kind of, brings them up to a higher level. Now this one, I did glue the part of his collar down so that it would not move a lot, which really helped a lot because before it was popping off, it was really loose. Another thing was the scale. I did a couple of things on the review. If you look it up on my channel, I actually show you how to lift them up. It has a little bit to do with the legs, but also with the neck peg. And now when you kind of put him like next to your standard, even like a Superman, he is like, a couple of millimeters taller, but it actually helps because Martian Manhunter is supposed to be a bigger character compared to the rest of the Justice League. So once you do those touches, he is really, really awesome in your Justice League lineup. Now I did make him an Oreo cookie little accessory for the review. If you know, you know. Now this is John's Martian Manhunter. He is number 19, a must-have for your Justice League lineup. Now coming in at number 18 is going to be the collectible figure Atrocitus. Now this was a must-have for your Lantern setup. We haven't received an Atrocitus since the DC Direct or the DC Signature Collection versions, and those were all 6 or 7 inch. This guy is huge. He's really nicely detailed. The grain and the sculpt work that they put on him is really awesome. I did repaint this guy to add some painted details and a little bit of darker wash. I did paint in all of the piping lines to give the suit a little bit more character. I also did add his little sidekick, that red cat from the from the comics. I'm not sure his name. I think it's like Dax or something like that. But he looks pretty cool as an accessory for him. You can also get the lantern from Atrocitus, which really works well with him. And it's just an awesome figure and a must-have if you want to have a lantern setup. But this is a beautiful, beautiful villain for your DC Multiverse collection. Coming in at number 18, Atrocitus. Now coming in at number 17, we do have Superman from the future state. Now this is kind of like Gladiator Superman. He came with some awesome accessories, a shield and a battle axe. When I first picked this guy up, I could not put him down. I just put him in so many awesome poses. I even had him with like a sword that I got from She-Spawn, which really fit well with him. Still an awesome figure. Love the head sculpt. Love all the details on the body. I did do some repainting on him, adding the like blood to the scars that, the scabbed up wounds that he has on him. Would still want to do more work, like adding some silver for chains and stuff like that, or maybe even some bronze for the chains, but I haven't gotten to that. But he is an awesome figure, and the thing about him is you would never know that we would get him until McFarlane released him, and it was just an awesome, awesome addition to the collection. So number 17, that is Gladiator Superman, the future state. Coming in at number 16, we do have one of my favorites actually. Now, people say he's hard to stand, but as you can see, I stand him very well, very easily. That is Shazam, the Rebirth version, more of a classic comic book style Shazam. Now, I do know that they released the newer movie version, but for some reason I've seen a couple of reviews and this guy is still the better Shazam to me. He just has that classic look that you really want when you're going to set up, a lineup of classic superheroes. I actually love the head sculpt. He has like a youthful, child kind of essence to the face. I did do a little bit of touch up on paint with him on his hairline and on adding the gold to the cape for the accent. Really boosted him up a little bit more, but actually just the way he is, love posing him and having him on the shelf. Now the other hands that he comes with are kind of big, but you can use like forced perspective to use those hands for photos, but with the fist, he looks just fine. So that is number 16, Rebirth Shazam, a must-have for your classic heroes setup. Coming in at number 15, we do have our only DC Direct Page Punchers figure that made it in the top 20. That is John Constantine. Now this is another one that is a must-have if you're going to have a Justice League Dark lineup. Another thing that put him up here on the list was his accessories. He had that cool spell book, a little kind of magic effect that you could add on to him. Now this one I have done a lot of work on. I changed the color of the tie, added a lot of shading to the jacket, washes, and even a cigarette for him, which really, like I said before, boosts him up to a top tier level. But even if not, you would need this guy if you want to do a Justice League Dark setup. Tons of cool accessories, awesome figure, a must-have in your DC collection. Coming in at number 14, we do have Owlman. Now this is a beautifully sculpted figure, highly articulated. I mean, he comes from the Starro wave. There were 4 figures in that wave, but this is by far one of my favorites from that wave. I love me some Owlman. We haven't really gotten an Owlman since the DC Universe Classics. Now, he didn't come with any accessories, so I did make him his own Owlorang, a custom little weapon for him. But besides that, really beautiful sculpt, awesome figure, and he fits right in to that Crime Syndicate lineup that you must have on your DC shelf. So that is number 14, Owlman. Coming in at number 13, we do have the Rebirth version of Deathstroke. Now this is another awesome figure. You must have this in your collection. He is really nicely sculpted. I mean, for a figure that could be very simple, he has tons of added detail and line work. Just a really beautiful, well articulated character. Comes with the Godslayer sword. Now I did modify mine. I did some changes in the details. Like I painted one of his straps for his mask orange, and then I did add a working holster to hold his handgun in there, just to give him something that was missing, and just to push him up to that higher level, to give him all of the added bells and whistles. He has a shieldable knife. I mean, this figure is just awesome. You must have him in your collection. So number 13, that is the Rebirth version of Deathstroke. Coming in at number 12, another kind of controversial figure. What I did notice was that he did not make it in a lot of people's top 10s, and not to be in somebody's top 10, that's just, that just can't happen. This is the Azrael kind of like Nightfall version. Now this was another old label version from Walmart. I did pick up 3 of these, so this is going to be the one that I actually customize. I already silvered out his kind of like gauntlet claws, but I do want to, make him a more traditional Nightfall Azrael. So I will be doing that later. I just haven't gotten around to it. But for me, even if you have this figure and you keep him in this, baby blue version, it's still an awesome addition to the collection. This is another one that you must have if you're a true DC Multiverse collector. That is the John Paul Valley version of Batman from Nightfall. Pretty awesome character. Now, he didn't come with many accessories, any at all, but just the different cape, the gauntlets, the texture in the costume, the head sculpt, it just all makes it really worth it. Another must-have figure. Now, coming in at number 11, this is one of my favorites of the year. Now, I don't know why I didn't really see a lot of people actually enjoying this figure, but he is definitely awesome. That is Necron, a mega figure from McFarlane. Now, I did go ahead and add the chains, but there is also some more paint detail that I would like to add. I mean, he comes with his, scythe that has kind of like that Black Lantern component to it. Beautiful sculpt work. He has that black heart that is exposed. Tons of texture in his costume, that kind of zombie vibe, but with the skull head, the Black Lantern symbol on the front, and then even on the back he has that like his hood that's like laid out. But beautiful, beautiful sculpt, beautiful figure. If you really like evil dark things, this is one that you definitely have to have in the collection. I mean, we did get the DC Universe Classics version, which didn't come with his scythe. And then also the DC Direct version was way too small. I think they made him like 5 inches, which was like a big slap in the face to the collectors. But this guy is awesome. A must-have for a Black Lantern lineup on your shelf. So that is number 11, Necron. Now we're getting down to the final 10. Let's go ahead and dive into them. So at number 10, we do have, a lot of people are going to be like kind of scratching their heads on this one, but this is the Ghostmaker. Now, he is a newer figure. If you watch my reviews, you know that I really fell in love with him just for like his unique design, tons of added detail and sculpt work that goes into this costume. Something completely different from McFarlane, but still kind of like that assassin style of character. He comes with his 2 katana blades, with his sheath, little hints of blue detail, just give him that little pump up, to make him pop a little bit. But he is a definite must-have in your DC Multiverse collection. He is connected to Batman, so he's kind of like in that Batman family. So definitely pick this guy up. That is Ghostmaker. He is number 10 in the top 20. Now coming in at number 9, we did not get many female figures, but you knew I had to add her to the top 10, and this is Superwoman. Now she is also from the Starro wave, from the Crime Syndicate, but ever since I picked her up, I just really enjoy her. I love her sculpt work, her voluptuous design, just everything about her, even that like cute smirk that she has on her face. Now, I did do a couple of different little mods to her. I ended up giving her like a lasso just to give her some kind of accent in the display. But she is beautiful. Her back sculpt is beautiful. I mean, I just love this figure. So when I first got her, I did like pose her a lot. Been getting kind of away from her, but when I go back to her, she's definitely one of my favorite figures from McFarlane. Number 9, that is Superwoman. Now coming in at number 8, this is another gold label. This is a Target one. This is Kyle Rayner in his more traditional 90s costume. Pretty interesting. Like, they did release another one of these, but this was from the Atrocitus wave. Now you can have either one of these, but this is the one people know more because of the costume design. But I also enjoy this one. Now they do have 2 different head sculpts, and they are swapped right now because I think that the kind of smirking one kind of fits a little bit better with this 90s design. But either way, he is an awesome figure. Fun to pose. I mean, once you pick him up and start posing him, you just can't put him down. Love like the added details of like the beaded texture to his suit. Just an awesome looking lantern figure. And a must-have for your lantern setup. So that's Kyle Rayner. Now coming in at number 7, this is a pretty interesting one because I did not see, hardly anybody have this one in their top 10. Now he is also from the Atrocitus wave, but this is the Blackest Night Batman, kind of an undead take on the Dark Knight. Now, this is one of the ones where when you first get him out of the package, he's okay. Um, but once you do some work on him, you can make him an awesome, awesome figure. Now, the things I did was that the white dots in his eyes were just too big, so I kind of made them into pinpoints that gave him a more creepy vibe. And then I did use like a metallic pearl white that like reflects the light, so when you move him around, those little beady eyes kind of pop out of the darkness. I did add the details of the paint to his belt, to the pouches that make it pop a little bit more. And then I added tons of mud detail, like on the gloves, on the boots, on the bottom of the cape. And this is because he like has emerged from his grave. So when you dirty him up, it just gives him a little bit more life, which makes him seem like a little bit more comic accurate. So with all those little details, I added actually like some green around his mouth and some red in his mouth, and just the little details that I add to these figures just make them all that much more great additions to the collection. So that is number 7, the Blackest Night Batman, with a little bit of retouches. Now coming in at number 6, one of my favorite speedsters this year from McFarlane. Now we did get tons of speedsters, but this is Godspeed. Now I just love his silhouette. He's like an awesome comic style body. Now I wasn't a big fan of the original paint, which is like a little bit more copper looking, and so I went ahead and repainted mine like in that high, yellow gold, which makes them pop a lot better. But either way, even if you pick them up in his original standard release, this is a must-have for your speedster shelf. Now he is a newer character, but that doesn't detract at all from adding him to your collection. All of these figures are basically must-haves this year from McFarlane. Just awesome, awesome lineup of figures, and this Godspeed is no exception. Coming in at number 5, another one that I did not see a lot of people have in their top 10, and that is Grifter. Now this is an awesome figure. I mean, just the sculpt work, the details like on his costume, the boots, the pouches, the jacket, everything is just so nicely detailed. But the thing about him is what really like elevated him was that I extended the neck peg so that his head had more, freedom to move around, so he could look down or up, and it wouldn't be so restricted like it was with that shorter peg. Now I did add guns to him, some pretty sweet Desert Eagles, but you can add all kinds of stuff. I even added one time the older Wildcat guns one time just to have some fun. Now when I first picked this guy up, I had a lot of fun posing him. Even added like his knife fits like right into his belt, even though it's not sheathed. But there's just so much detail in this guy. I love his hair, like the texture and the like brown gold little like different highlights just make it pop. And actually Grifter is like an underrated character. He's pretty awesome. But for me, this guy definitely had to be in my top 10. So that is number 5, Grifter, with a little bit of modifications. Coming in at number 4. Now this is probably going to be the one that has everybody scratching their heads. But for me, this is a no-brainer. This is the Dark Detective from Future State. I love this figure. I don't know what it was about him, but when I first picked him up, I just could not put him down. Right away, I had to do my repaints on him. I added some chrome to the helmet, fixed the way the ears looked. They looked like they were sticking out because there was a lot of like flesh tone around it. So I darkened it in around just to like tone down the way they were like so prominently sticking out. But then I did a full overhaul of the whole costume, the gloves, the belt details, just tons of stuff. Added like some steel toe silver to the boots. Just an awesome, awesome figure. Now I know they do have the sleeveless version. I do have that one lined up for a review, but I'm actually going to want to put that one on one of the drifter cycles. So once I get that extra drifter cycle, I'll actually review that other Dark Detective, but then I'll probably bring this one out as well just to showcase him again, because he is such an awesome figure. The details on this guy, and this is another one of those things where like you don't know you want a figure until it's released, until McFarlane actually makes it in figure form. And this is a must-have figure. Trust me, once you start playing with him, you'll see what I see. I even added him like a customized little firearm just to give him some cool style. But that is my number 4. That is the Dark Detective. Now we're in the top 3. This is my number 3, and that has to be the gold label Walmart exclusive Parallax figure. This is another one that I did pick up 3 of. This one is my repainted version, and this is another figure where once I did my repaints, it just took them from down here to up here, and this guy is no exception. I added a lot of brown tones to his hair because it was kind of dark, and then I did add the gray all around the back. Added a little bit of shading to the face to add some detail, and then I added some really chrome silver to all the silver details on the figure. But the thing about this guy is that he's really smooth. Like his articulation and the materials that they use to make him just make him an easy figure to pose. He has these like translucent hands. He came with some cool accessories, even though I do not need him to pose this guy. He actually stands up on his own. But this is another one of those must-have for your collection. This is Parallax, the gold label version. And he is awesome. Now, before I get into my final 2, this is one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make. And I mean, I just went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I think once I do the new details on the first one, on number 2, he might move up to number 1. But since it's a work in progress, I'm going to just have to go with it. I mean, all these figures actually could be like swapped around a couple of, this could actually be number 8 and this could actually be number 4. It just depends how I'm feeling that day, but they're all of them are must-haves for your collection. And even the ones that I didn't get to include in here, there's just tons of other figures that are awesome that should actually be in here, but there's just not enough room. But let's go ahead and do it. Let's get into number 2. And that is actually going to be the Mega Fig of Bane. Now, I did start working on this guy. I whitened up the mask because it was more of like a gray. I added the paint to the gloves where it's supposed to be flesh tone, and I added some red like to his eyes, to like this kind of button or control on his gauntlet for his venom. I added the silver to the boots, to all the eyelets, but I do actually still have more work to do. I want to add some green to the veins, and then some bronze to the tank and other parts, metal parts here on him. So I'm not completely done with him. I'm also going to work on some fists that were sent to me to show you guys how to add them to this figure. That's going to be another video where I do the fists and show all of the repaints that I've done on this guy. Now, this guy is kind of hard to come by. I have picked up another one of him so that I could start repainting this one. So now I'll have 2. But this is a must-have figure. People want to talk crap and say that he doesn't have any articulation, but trust me, when I do my video on the fist, you're going to see just how much articulation this guy actually has. But this is another must-have for your collection. One of my favorites, and it was a really hard decision to make, but coming in at number 2, it is the Mega Figure Bane. Now, this might not come to a surprise to many, but my number 1 figure of McFarlane's DC Multiverse for 2022, I just barely sneaked him in, and that is the Dark Flash. Now, the reason he made number one is because this figure actually came with accessories, which are like some energy effects. He also is an awesome army builder. I did pick up 3 of these, and I wish I could pick up 10 just to have a shelf of pure zombie flashes. Now, the other things that put him up here, perfectly designed. I mean, the articulation is just next level. The design of the suit, how it has like different textures and different parts of the costume is just awesome. And just his whole like silhouette and like zombie vibe just really is something that I really enjoy. Just an awesome figure. Now you can move him any way you want, and he looks like you posed him in that position, and it's just a perfect action figure. Like, you just don't get any better than this. It's just awesome. Even though it is kind of simplistic, that sometimes that is all you need. And for someone like me that likes a lot of like undead, dark stuff, this is just a figure that I actually really enjoy. I cannot stop posing him, having him chase the other speedsters. Just awesome. I actually want to do some photos with this guy and with the other speedsters. It's going to be awesome. And I could, I'm still trying to hold out, see if I could get more of these, or if McFarlane's actually going to release the other versions that you see on the box and stuff of this actual figure. So anyways, that is my number one fun figure to have from McFarlane, the Dark Flash. Easy to stand as well. But that's it. That's my top 20 for 2022. Actually, all of these figures are must-haves for your collection. And there are other ones that I just could not get in here. But you guys keep hunting out there. Keep collecting. Keep customizing. Have a great year. And I will see you on the next one.